Bandit leaders in Nigeria's northern region have recently been linked to illicit deals involving foreign arms suppliers, shedding light on a troubling and dangerous trade that has been growing in the shadows. This isn't just about the violent attacks and kidnappings we've been hearing about, it goes much deeper. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like, share it with others, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Your support goes a long way in helping us reach more people and keep the conversation going. Now, these bandits are no longer just criminals lurking in the darkness, but they're now part of an international network, one that involves gold, weapons, and international smugglers. One of the most shocking revelations came from an investigation that uncovered the extent of the gold for arms trade. These armed groups are mining gold in remote areas, smuggling it across borders, and exchanging it for weapons from foreign suppliers. Yes, gold, the very resource that could be used to build a nation's wealth, is being turned into a deadly tool. This isn't just some local criminal operation. This is an international business involving arms smuggling and illegal transactions that cross multiple borders. Now, you might wonder, how does this all work? How is gold, a seemingly innocent resource, fueling these bandits' operations? Let me break it down for you. Gold is being mined in Nigeria, often illegally and under terrible working conditions, by local miners or under the control of bandit groups. This gold is then smuggled out of Nigeria through the porous borders to the Sahel region, and even further to places like Dubai,
where it's sold. The proceeds, they're used to purchase weapons from foreign suppliers. These weapons, including military-grade arms, are used by these bandits to overpower the security forces,
expand their operations, and further terrorize the local populations. Now think about the bigger picture here. What does this mean for the safety of the people living in these affected regions? Villages are constantly under threat, lives are being lost, and communities are living in fear. The bandits, who once engaged in cattle rustling or kidnapping for ransom, have now evolved into well-armed and well-funded forces. They are in control of resources, and that makes them powerful, dangerous, and difficult to defeat. The weapons they are obtaining through these illegal foreign connections give them an advantage that local law enforcement and military forces struggle to counter. The sheer scale of this issue is alarming. The gold for arms trade is just one example of the economic forces at play here. The illicit gold trade alone, according to some estimates, costs the Nigerian economy over $9 billion annually. That's a huge amount of money that could be going towards legitimate economic activities like job creation, infrastructure, and development. But instead, it's feeding a violent criminal network that destabilizes the country and hurts everyone. But let's not stop there. This issue goes beyond just the local bandit groups. The international dimension makes it even more complex. Foreign suppliers of arms are playing a critical role in sustaining this conflict. These suppliers aren't just selling weapons for money, they're fueling a cycle of violence that affects Nigeria and, by extension, the entire region. And these foreign suppliers are often hidden in the shadows, making it difficult for authorities to track or disrupt their operations. The illegal arms trade, especially when it involves international players, complicates efforts to restore peace and order. How do you fight an enemy when their weapons are coming from beyond your borders? How do you tackle a problem that spans multiple countries and involves multiple international stakeholders? This story also raises critical questions about border security and governance. If Nigeria's borders are so porous that illegal arms and smuggled gold can flow freely, what does that say about the effectiveness of border control? How are arms getting past authorities and into the hands of criminals?
And what about the role of local governance? Are they doing enough to crack down on illegal mining operations, or are they turning a blind eye to the illegal activities for the sake of short-term gains? One thing that has become painfully clear is that the government has struggled to stop this trade. It's not just about dealing with bandits on the ground anymore. It's about breaking an international supply chain that enables violence. But let's not forget about the people who are suffering the most. The local communities. These are the innocent civilians who are caught in the crossfire. They're the ones who are being displaced are losing their livelihoods and living in constant fear. The people of Zamfara, Katsina, and Kaduna are particularly vulnerable. These communities are trapped in a cycle of violence
where they are forced to live in terror while powerful criminal networks control their resources and their future. So, how do we fix this? The solution isn't simple, but it starts with cracking down on illegal mining operations and bringing law and order to the mining sector. We need to ensure that gold is mined legally, that miners are registered, and that gold extraction benefits the people, not the criminals. There's also a need to strengthen border security. If illegal weapons are coming through porous borders, we need to invest in better surveillance, better intelligence, and more robust policing. But security is not just about armed forces. It's also about empowering local communities, providing them with the tools and support they need to resist criminal networks, and ensuring they have access to justice.
And we can't forget the role of international cooperation. This issue isn't just Nigeria's problem. Arms are being supplied from abroad, and that means foreign governments and international agencies need to step up. They need to work together with the Nigerian authorities to cut off the supply of illegal weapons and track down the suppliers. International trade laws and security measures need to be enforced more strictly to prevent arms from reaching the wrong hands. Now, I want you to think about this. How does a resource like gold, which should bring wealth, end up as the very thing that fuels conflict and violence? How does it go from being a national asset to becoming part of a deadly international network? It's a stark reminder of how corruption, weak enforcement, and poor governance can turn a country's potential into a curse.
And if we're being honest, it also highlights the need for a more proactive approach from the government. The time for reactive measures is over. We need a comprehensive strategy that targets every part of the supply chain, from mining to arms procurement to smuggling routes. Only then can we begin to dismantle this dangerous network. As we continue, it's essential to understand that this issue isn't just about bandits and illegal arms deals. It's about the larger impact this cycle of violence has on society, on everyday people. Bandit groups have been able to wield power because they control resources, and with the resources comes leverage. The gold they mine, the weapons they obtain, and the fear they spread all feed into a dangerous feedback loop. We've already seen how these groups operate with relative impunity,
and the toll on communities is overwhelming. In places like Zamfara and Kaduna, there are reports of entire villages being razed to the ground, livelihoods destroyed, and families displaced. In many instances, people have had to flee into neighboring states or countries, seeking refuge from bandit attacks. The government's response, while commendable in some areas, has been slow and insufficient to fully address the scale of this crisis. And in this vacuum of action, the bandits grow stronger, more organized, and more entrenched. Now we're seeing the consequences of a long-standing lack of enforcement and a lack of community engagement.
These bandit leaders have gained power not just through their illegal activities, but through the fact that they've been able to operate with little pushback from local governments or the federal authorities. Even when security forces do intervene, these groups have developed ways to hide or protect their supply chains, using smuggling routes and underground networks that are nearly impossible to track. In addition to all of these, there's the economic factor to consider. These criminal groups are siphoning off billions of dollars worth of gold, and this doesn't just hurt Nigeria's economy, it fuels a global issue. The illicit gold trade is one of the primary means by which these armed groups are financing their operations. The money that should be used to fuel legitimate economic development, infrastructure, education,
and security is instead being funneled into criminal hands, and that hurts everyone from the poorest people in Nigeria to the global market, which is indirectly affected by the destabilization of an entire region. But let's take a step back and ask, how did we get here? This is not a situation that happened overnight. The roots of the issue run deep. There's been a long history of poorly regulated mining in Nigeria, particularly in the northern regions. The government has been slow to address illegal mining, and when it has, the enforcement has been patchy at best. people have turned to gold mining as a way to survive, especially in areas where agriculture and livestock farming have become increasingly difficult. But when these miners are forced to work under the control of bandit groups,
what could have been a legitimate enterprise turns into a way to fund violence and instability. At the heart of this is governance, or the lack of it. If local governments were more effective in regulating mining operations, it's possible that these armed groups wouldn't have been able to infiltrate these industries in the first place. But when governance is weak, when there's corruption and a lack of will to intervene, criminal networks are able to thrive. This is why tackling this problem requires more than just security interventions. It requires strengthening institutions, ensuring the rule of law is respected, and holding people accountable. But the question remains, what can we do about it? Is it possible to turn things around? The answer isn't easy, but it begins with a multifaceted approach. First, we need to tackle the gold for arms trade at its core. This means tightening control over mining operations, ensuring that every ounce of gold mined is properly registered, tracked, and accounted for. We need to shut down illegal mining activities and stop the flow of gold to criminals. The government has already started this process, but it needs to be a priority. There should be consequences for those who engage in illegal mining, and there should be incentives for people to operate within the bounds of the law. Second, there needs to be a concerted effort to strengthen Nigeria's borders. These porous borders are a significant weakness, and they've allowed for the free flow of weapons, gold, and people. We've seen time and time again how easy it is for these criminals to smuggle weapons from neighboring countries. And this must be stopped. Border security must be a national priority, and we need better intelligence sharing with neighboring countries to track and intercept these dangerous goods before they make it into the hands of bandits. Third, there needs to be a shift in how we view security. The security forces in Nigeria have long been under-resourced and overstretched. While they have done an admirable job in some areas, they need more support, more training, and better equipment. Security forces should be better coordinated with local communities, working alongside them to dismantle these criminal networks. It's not just about sending in more soldiers. It's about working smarter, using technology, intelligence, and community policing to root out these groups from the inside. Fourth, we must engage with the international community. This issue is not just Nigeria's problem. As long as foreign suppliers continue to provide arms to these criminals, the cycle of violence will continue. Nigeria needs to work with international organizations to put pressure on foreign governments and arms dealers to stop the supply of illegal weapons. This is a global issue, and it requires a global response. Finally, the most crucial part of solving this crisis is the people. The government, the military, and the international community can only do so much. It's the local communities that are suffering the most from these criminal activities, and it's the local communities that must be the first line of defense. Communities need to be empowered, given the tools and resources to resist the influence of criminal groups, and supported by effective governance.
If these communities are given the opportunity to thrive legally without the threat of violence, they will be the key to stopping these criminal enterprises. The truth is, the situation is dire, but it's not hopeless. Change is possible, but it will take time, commitment, and coordination from all levels of society. We need to keep pushing for better governance, stronger security, and more accountability from all parties involved. Only then can we hope to break the cycle of violence and build a safer, more prosperous future for the people of northern Nigeria and for the entire nation. And for you, the viewer, it's important to stay aware of these issues. Share this video, like it, and subscribe to stay updated. We all have a stake in ensuring that these criminal operations don't get out of hand,
that the peace and safety of Nigerian citizens are restored, and that international players who profit from violence are held accountable. This is a collective effort. It starts with awareness, and it must lead to action. So keep the conversation going, ask the tough questions, and let's demand more from our leaders.